Alright guys, so not too long ago on the channel, we checked out two different IEMs from the same company, which was Kiwi ears. We checked out the Orchestra Lite and the KE4, and I was very impressed with both of them to the point where I wanted to see if they offered over-the-ears. I'm a big fan of over-the-ear headphones, and I like the way that Kiwi ears tune their products, and so I went and looked on their site to see what they had, and they had a pair, which is the pair that we're going to check out today, which is the Atheia, or at least I hope that I'm saying that right, that uses a 50mm dynamic driver, but also a 14.5mm planar magnetic driver. Now, I am a fan of planars. I like them in IEMs. I like them in headphones. It just does something to the audio. It's kind of hard to explain. It just has this completely different sound altogether. But the fact that they have all of this and they wrapped it into a headphone that's $350, I thought it was very interesting because I've seen a lot of planars be really expensive. I mean, obviously in the audio world, prices are all over the place. But again, Kiwi ears impressed me enough with the IEMs that it made me want to check these out. And so what we're getting here and what we're checking out is the over the ear. It's closed back. It is a walnut wooden ear cup. This again is something I've experienced in the past. Wooden ear cups usually give music a good amount of space. It is also something that affects audio quality, which we'll talk about once we get to the sound. They're pretty subtle for the most part, except for the really big branding on each ear cup. Now, the Kiwi ears logo itself is already pretty vibrant. It's pretty big. It takes up a lot of space, and they make it take up even more space on the ear cup. And I really would have liked to have seen them have a more subtle approach where maybe it's smaller or maybe kind of at the top headband and not necessarily needing to be on the ear cups themselves. But that's just personal preference. That's just cosmetic, and that really doesn't affect the functionality of the headphones anyway. The headphones themselves also use a vegan leather ear pad, which is really soft. It is a big ear pad, so you're not going to have any issues getting your ears to fit inside of these, with them obviously being over the ears. It is using the suspension headband system. I always find this to be pretty comfortable. It doesn't have that, tight or snug fit on the top of my head. There's not a tight clamp force with these headphones either, so it's not something you feel like you need to take a break from. Now, they do not fold inwards, but they do swivel to kind of lay flat, and that is how you sit them in the case that they've included. And it's pretty simple, everything that they've included in the box. You do get this nice zippered hard case. The cable with these, though, I thought was really interesting, and that's kind of my way of saying weird. It's different that like the bottom half of the cable is fabric, but the top half is like silicone. Now, I get why they may be doing this, because the top half is usually, if it's something that's rubbing against your shirt or your jacket, you can usually hear them in normal headphones. But with the silicone, you're not going to get this, and I think that's why they decided to do this instead of the fabric. It just looks just weird altogether. But you plug each end into both ear cups, so it does have to be connected that way. The actual plug-in that goes into whatever device you're listening to uses a normal 3.5mm headphone plug-in. It does not come with a 1/4-inch adapter, which I thought was kind of strange. I would have liked to have seen this, because a lot of people that are going to use these are going to be plugging them into amps or maybe even like home theater systems, something that normally uses a 1/4-inch plug-in anyway. And then outside of that, there's nothing else in the box at all. So as far as actually using these, and for those that are wondering if they're going to need an amp, now most audiophile style headphones like this, anything, especially using planar drivers, anything that's probably tuned a little bit differently than normal consumer style headphones, I always recommend using a DAC or an amp. That way you really can get the most out of the lows, the mids, and the highs. Now, this pair only has an impedance level of 32 ohms and a sensitivity level of 102 decibels. So honestly, it's very easy to drive, like plugging straight into a phone or a laptop. You're going to get decent volume, like no issues there. But again, I do recommend an amp so that you really can get the most out of these. Now, the frequency response on these is 20 hertz to 40 kilohertz. I am going to say there's so many different things going on with these that it really does have a different feel to them, or different sound altogether. One, obviously, it's using a 50mm dynamic driver and a 14.5mm planar driver. The dynamic driver is what's handling the low end, but I feel like the planars are handling the mids and the treble. The wooden ear cups are allowing so much space in these. It's giving everything room to breathe without having that like reverb or echoey effect. So I'm not saying that it gives it space where it feels like things are bouncing off. It just doesn't feel as enclosed as most closed back headphones. Now, I'm not saying it sounds like an open back pair of headphones. It definitely doesn't. It definitely has the Harman curve to them. They are trying to boost the bass a little bit, so it does have a nice punch. But this pair of headphones is very fast. It does not let anything kind of hang around too long. It's like each hit of the drum just hits and moves on very quickly. So if you are a bass head, or if you're somebody that likes, you know, that subwoofer type effect where something just kind of hangs around a little bit, that is not what this pair does. It really just made me feel like I could go from one genre to the next, and no matter what I did, no matter what I threw at these, it could definitely keep up. Even with metal, with like the double bass of the drums, I mean, you can hear every hit of it. You can feel every hit of it. So it does have that impact. It's just, again, not letting it be sloppy or lazy. Now, the mids kind of have like a slight boost to them, but with planar drivers, or at least my experience with planar drivers, it kind of has a slight warmth to them where it has a natural feel. It definitely does not feel like they're trying to push them in your face. It doesn't feel like they're trying to alter vocals in any way. This also allows guitars to have a nice clean approach too. I mean, whether it be acoustic guitars, electric guitars, everything sounds exactly like what you would think they should sound like. And when it comes to the treble, they have a nice shine to them, a nice little sparkle, but it's not like overly bright. It's not harsh. This pair doesn't cause like any kind of ear fatigue. It's really smooth overall. And again, this is kind of my experience with planar drivers anyway, where at times it again can bring out so much details, but it's not trying to be over the top. So it's a very smooth listening experience, or at least that's what I got from these. And that's just using the Moondrop Dawn Pro. Again, I've said that's like a very inexpensive little DAC or amp that uses a USB-C connection. It just plugs straight into my Pixel Fold. And that is more than enough to bring out what all I need to hear and what I think these headphones can really produce when it comes to the audio. And like I said earlier, the space in these allow these to sound very open. And this pair just does a really good job of being able to tell where different sounds are coming from and how different sounds are layered. So my overall opinion, I think at $350, I think this is a very impressive pair. I think this is another one that shows that Kiwi Ears is probably one of those companies that should be taken seriously when it comes to audiophile equipment. I know they've been around. It's just new to me. Again, the Orchestra Lite and the KE4 IEMs were ones that kind of snuck up on me. My only complaint with these is the fact that the cable's ugly. I'm just not a fan of that. That's cosmetic, and that's like a little thing to gripe about. But the sound quality that you're getting in this price range with the drivers that they're using, I think is what really brings value to these. But guys, that's my video on the Kiwi Ears Atheia. I think, again, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. These do come in $350. If you are interested, I will have a link in the description. But guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.